The squirrel was magic. This is Annie Monkai. It's a live show, and we were just goofing around, so... Yep,
this guy is an idiot.
That happened. It was all a big debacle over Sprite, so we got it done.
And ice, involving ice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. This is what you came to watch. Sprite. There was a lot of fun. Andrew's got Sprite too, but he doesn't have ice because he's...
I'm what?
He's
Andrew.
You're Andrew.
Yes, damn
Just
straight.
like all my friends. I have 4 Andrew friends.
Nothing's wrong with Andrew.
Andrew's everywhere! Anyway, that was a fun start. Been a few weeks.
I think it's only been one.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it was. We only missed last week because it was Father's Day.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
I called off 1 week because I wasn't feeling well. Then you called off for Father's Day. And then I think we might have even missed a 3rd one.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Look at the head shaking.
Oh, okay. My concept of time sucks, everybody, so I'm sorry if I'm making myself look stupider.
But we'll try to stay more consistent. Just holiday stuff and people being sick, summer.
No, well, yeah, you called off for Father's Day, but I already called off before that.
Oh, okay. So that one was you. That wasn't us. Okay, then.
So it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks. So we missed 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
All right, then.
Yeah, this is fun. But anyway, we brought our figures as usual, and by our figures, I mean Andrew's figures. I didn't bring a figure. Andrew doesn't want me to show it, but I did find this Peep. It was on a couch, and it's gorgeous. It's very anime. I love it. Anime is about plushies and cute, adorable things. If you didn't know any better, this could be one of the little magical creatures from a Magical Girl show. You make a deal with it, you get all powerful, exchange, Like,
what was his name?
There's Cube from Madoka Magica.
He's meaning the name of that.
Oh, this is Peep-sama. This is depending on your respect level towards the Peep. It could also be Peep-kun if you think it's sexy in a male way. That'd be senpai. Kun is for girls.
If it's a teacher.
Yeah, it could be Peep-sensei if he teaches you. We're learning about Japanese honorifics here. This is a education tool. But, so we got the best figure out of the way, so let's get to the less cool ones.
Oh, hell no.
This is Andrew's 02 figure. I put it on my side for balancing reasons.
Just put it on the floor.
Okay. Put it on the floor?
No, on the table. On the table.
What is it, $90? $90? $50. I'm going to put his $50 figure on the floor because he just asked me to.
I meant the table.
If you know anything about 02, if you're, into current, the current seasonal anime, you should have heard of Darling in the Franxx because it's just getting talked about for one reason or another. Some people aren't really liking where it's going. Some people are loving where it's going. Some people are just,
along for the ride until
it's done. She's cool. She's got pink hair. She's got horns. She's like one of the better characters in the series. She's the reason a lot of people started it because she just acts really weird. But
she acts really confident and don't take any bullshit type thing.
Yeah, but she also has kind of like a alien kind. Not like an actual alien, but she's kind of got like a odd personality. Like she's eccentric.
Yeah,
eccentric.
She mellows throughout the series, but in the beginning she's real standoffish and only really will be close with one person. Anybody else, she just
Her
would rather-
darling.
her darling, yes.
Darling.
Anybody else in
Japanese.
the beginning, she almost would rather have just killed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
she
literally.
she mellows out.
Yeah, but we don't want to spoil too much, so she's cool. She has no real name. She's 02.
Yep.
So let's show off your other figures, Andrew.
Hey,
But you can do
scoot
the other
over.
ones.
The other one we got is from a show that probably is a hit or miss for some people, but Monster Musume Mia the Lamia, which I'm sure a lot of people are probably familiar with the show
It was pretty
in,
popular,
in
surprisingly.
one way or another.
It was surprisingly popular.
It really was, probably because that
Because boobs.
that and also apparently because Americans really like
Monster.
monster girls.
That's true. It tops the U.S. book like comic book sales. Often at least gets in the top 5 occasionally, like up with there with Tokyo Ghoul and Attack on Titan. It's weird how well it sells, to be honest.
And
But-
obviously, it's like the first character that you meet is a Lamia.
It's also pretty funny.
It
got
is-
Good, it's got good comedy. I'll
It's
give it that.
a kind of a slice of life
Mm-hmm.
comedy. Not much of an. Well, there's kind of action, but not so much.
Only
Just
with
ki-
like the Mon Force or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them.
But it starts off with her, and then we get other kinds of Inhumans or demi-humans, as they call them.
Yeah.
Some of them you know.
I'm not as far as he is.
Some of them you know, some of them you don't. But the ones that are typically that it shows is the Lamias, the Harpies, the Centaurs, Mermaids, Slimes, and then the two more that live with him are a Arachne, which is just a spider girl, which is kind of picture like with the Lamia, just instead of a lower half of a snake, a spider. And then a Doulahan, which for people that don't know, it's a headless horseman.
From Irish mythology.
Mhm.
If you ever watched Do Ra Ra Ra, you know what a Doulahan is. Except in normal Irish mythology, they ride horses and not motorcycles, but, whatever.
But they're always carrying their heads or not having a head and always carrying some kind of weapon.
Yeah. Well, actually, in show I just mentioned,
Durara.
yeah, her motorcycle turns into a horse. It, like, makes horse noises even when it's a motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then the third one, which I
We-
apologize
you
for
just put
what.
it back on your side.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, I could just scoot her around. The other one, she probably will not stand very well because for some reason her base does not want to hold her.
It's magnetic.
Yeah, it's
She's
magnetic
not all
based.
about that base.
It's from a series line. What was it? Kotobayashi, I think I said it was.
That's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any of the
They
figures.
make different versions and really, lack of a better word, sexy versions of just about anything. Already female characters like Marvel and DC, and some eccentric ones like Freddy. They have Jason, as well as Chucky, Bride of Chucky, Leatherface. They're making. They have one of Edward Scissorhands, and soon to be released is what's his name? I guess Ash from the Ash of the Dead or something. Guy with the
Evil
chainsaw.
Dead or
Yeah,
whatever,
with the
yeah.
chainsaw for an arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're getting ready to make one of him.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, not much.
Discriminate, I guess, right?
Huh?
There's males and females, huh?
Well, no, actually, they turn all the males into females.
Yeah, because this is a
Well-
female version of Freddy.
For example.
So
I'm
yeah,
assuming this is the chat. It looks a little bit different.
I don't know.
Just like a black box. I don't know. I guess it looks right.
Okay. But yeah, there's not much to say about this kind of figure because there's really no backstory or anything behind them. It's just they just decide to make the male characters female.
Yeah.
And like in her case, she's not burnt
That's good.
like Freddy is.
Because that would... I mean, you can fetishize it.
Everybody's got
Everyone's got a kink.
I was gonna say everybody's got a kink.
Oh, I'm into burns. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, those are the figures that we brought, or I brought.
Yeah.
This guy won't bring anything.
I got my peep.
Your peep's not real. You have no peeps.
I actually do have a few more figures. I'm just kind of waiting for a good time to bring them because some of them are all from a certain series. So I kind of want to wait. Well, I have like 3 more from Gintama. But then I got really small minifigures I could bring. I just don't have as many figures as you.
You need to work on that.
I need to buy some more because this is going to be really bad when you're going to have to resort to bringing some unscrupulous figures because you're going to run out.
And no. Every time I bring a few, usually before the next one, I've already bought 2 or 3 more.
2 or 3 more.
Yeah, it's like my figures are like a Hydra. You bring 3, it's in a way of cutting off a head. 3 more take its place.
What he's saying here is that he buys like multiple figures a week.
Pretty much. Or big ones, depending on how much they are.
Richie Rich.
I'm not Richie Rich. I just can't manage money.
Smart.
Not smart.
Yeah. So on to the topic of the day. It's a little bit of a different one. We've been doing focused discussions recently on Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. We'll probably go back and do a few more of those. But for this one, we're actually just going to talk about things you can learn from Japan from anime. Or things that anime has made you interested in that, you
relate to Japan.
That relate to Japan that you look more into.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, that spur on your interest.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Kind of just helping learn about the culture of Japan.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll also talk about, like, if the things from the anime are, if we feel they're accurate, or if it's just, like, super exaggerated. Because most of the time, anime is pretty exaggerated.
Yeah.
In every way.
Pretty much.
I was like, what? I was like, whoa! I shouldn't emote so much at random shit, but I do. So first we're going to just talk about some language you can learn just by watching a lot of subbed anime. Andrew watches more dubs than I do. I mean, I watch the dubs afterwards, but I almost always start sub just because I'm impatient and I don't want to wait for...
Depending on the show. Like, I will do the same thing if it's a show I'm interested in. Like, Darling in the Franxx and Monster Musume, they came out subbed first, and I was not going to wait. Mm-hmm. I waited at most, like, I think till 4 episodes of Franxx got out before I finally started watching it, and then it's just like, I was like, okay, I'll just watch one here and there. It's like, nope, one night, binged all 4. It's like, damn it!
Yeah, this...
And so now I just couldn't stop, and unfortunately, the last episode is next week, so I'm upset.
Yeah, he's really making on season 2 happening, and it's not looking like it's going
I hope.
But yeah, back to what we were saying. Yeah. But you do occasionally watch subs.
Yeah.
And you do know some of the Japanese lingo, even though you watch dubs primarily. Like,
yeah. So like, for example, even some of the dubs still put in the Japanese language for it because it makes it fit. And we used it as a joke.
We used it as a joke, but this what I was saying about this is relevant. Like the honorifics get used even in the dubs a lot of the time.
Yep.
So like
senseis that's usually always translated over even in English.
Yeah, sensei's been around non-anime. Like you watch Karate Kid. I think he called Mr. Miyagi sensei.
Yeah, sensei.
So sensei's probably the most well-known honorific in the world because it's used outside Japan normally.
It's just teacher.
Yeah, just teacher, because it's funner to say sensei and it makes them sound more like a badass than if you call them teacher.
Yeah, just be like, hey teacher. It's like, just be like, hey sensei. It's like, that just sounds better.
Yeah, exactly. But like other honorifics like Kun, which is like, I think that's like when a girl's talking to a guy she likes primarily.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then like Oni-chan.
Oni-chan.
Get into the weird stuff. But just like brother and sister, essentially. And then there's a lot of honorifics, geesh.
Yeah.
What's some more we're forgetting? There's more than that. It's just hard to think of.
Well, from one that I'm reading, I think it just translates also to brother, but Aniki.
Oh yeah, that's actually not an honorific. That's just the straight up Japanese word for brother.
Okay, because that what the crap is it? Defrag that I keep telling you need to read. Like,
do they say Aniki in the manga or Aniki in the anime, even in English?
Manga, yes. Anime, no.
So that's another thing I wanted to talk about when it came to the language of Japan. Like, it's weird. Basically, in America, would you say, what language is it, like, cool to use occasionally in America? Like, French? Or, like, what's the language that's considered the coolest? German? Like,
I don't know. It actually mixes quite a bit. There's a lot of different languages that circulate.
Yeah, but, like, in the U.S., like, if you know German or, like, you hear German, you just think it sounds really cool. Well, in Japan, their favorite is English. So, like, they throw English in their sentences all the time, just randomly. Like, especially when it comes to Japanese music.
Oh, yeah.
You just hear random English everywhere.
And the other thing with that, too, just comparing a lot of, like, some words that just sound better. A lot of Japanese songs sound a lot better in than they would in English, because there's so many variants where they'll actually have like an English song and there'll be a translate to do it in Japanese, but still sung the same way, but just in Japanese, and a lot of those sound way better than the English versions.
I think a reason that like Japanese songs, like I've always thought this, it's a little off topic, but whatever. It's not that off topic. I think it's interesting. Like when I look at Japanese lyrics for anime songs and whatnot,
yeah,
I always think that when I'm reading them, I'm like, man, the English lyrics are never as deep or as cool as like Japanese lyrics. And I think the reason is because in Japan you can pretty much rhyme any of your words together, because it seems like 90% of the words in Japan end with a vowel. So it's like E's, A's, and U's pretty much are the end of every single word.
Yeah.
Almost, or I's.
Yeah.
So like almost everything rhymes. So you can use these crazy complex lyrics and still make it rhyme and sound good, whereas in English you have to kind of cherry pick words and it might not sound as cool.
And this might also be a bit off topic and stuff, but like what I was just saying earlier on the way up about Food Wars, there's only for like one episode or something, but it's one of the judges for the judging the food thing, and granted it's all in English, but they're still in Japan, so in their mind they're speaking Japanese but in English. And there's one of the judges who speaks like fractured. Like it's like, oh, I happy be here. I like food. Or da, 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 da. It's like implying that she can speak Japanese, but she doesn't speak it well.
Yeah.
So it's all fractured, but it's still English. It just sounds like that she just can't talk.
Yeah, well, for example, Kagura from, Gintama, she's got like a Chinese accent apparently, but I watch it all in Japanese, but you can still kind of pick out the differences. Like, they usually use it as like sentence enders, like Aru. When she ends her sentence with Aru, I guess that's kind of just a way of making it sound like she's talking in Chinese. Well, I don't even know what Aru means, but but that a Chinese dialect in Japan is apparently just ending with Aru.
Yeah. So, and if we're saying any of these words, if we don't say them right, or if we get their meaning wrong, we apologize. We just like them. We don't necessarily know what they entirely all mean.
Not experts.
Yeah, we don't speak Japanese. We want to at some point, but we just can't do it right now.
Yeah, anime really makes you want to learn Japanese. Cause,
yeah,
man, if you could learn Japanese, that'd be.
You don't have to worry about subbing or anything.
Yeah,
stuff.
You can just watch it in Japanese and not have to worry about. Because Andrew's issue with watching things subbed first is only that he has to pay attention to the subs
instead of being
watching.
able. Yeah, and I can't do that very well.
A lot of the time he prefers subs, but he doesn't want to sit there and read them, so he watches subs afterwards.
Yeah, like after watching it dubbed and then go back and watch it subs. That way, sometimes the subbing is a little bit different, but not too much, and then you can focus on what actually is happening.
Yeah, but like some other random words that picked up on, like "itadakimasu" is I think
thanks for the food.
Thanks for the food. I'm sure they probably say that a lot in Food Wars, huh?
Actually, no.
Really?
They don't actually say that. They'll just start eating.
I know in Toriko, which is a food-based action show that was back in Shonen Jump, they'd always say "itadakimasu" before they like kill a monster, because they eat everything.
Yeah, yeah.
They eat everything from the monster, so they kind of like pray to the monster, thank you for the meal as I kill you. But and kawaii is cute, which if you watch anime, you know, because it gets spammed even in English anime.
Yeah, even in that, yeah, it does.
They make fun of it, like I think High School DxD, like in the dub, like where they just mess with, like I've heard a lot of dub clips of High School DxD where they're silly and they just randomly shout out Japanese phrases just to make fun of it. And then there's kawaii, which is cool, and this is a word that I've learned mostly through anime songs, but sekai is world. Because I swear every single Japanese song I've ever heard in my life has world in it. So
at some point or other, yeah.
I don't know why Japanese people love singing about the world, but yeah. And then I guess isekai as a genre is trapped in another world. Yeah. So sekai isekai. So I guess Isa would be trapped because trapped in another world. Maybe. Sekai is world. Isekai translates to trapped in another world. It's so, trapped in another for Issei. Sounds a little excessive, but there's a bit of a
they got a different lettering stuff. They got a kanji. And,
like the different forms of writing and whatnot that Japan use. You'll learn that while watching anime because especially ones that focus on school life and everything.
Yeah.
There's katakana, which I think is like a more rough, unrefined kind of writing. And then kanji itself is the most basic. And then there's hiragana, which I think is like the really, as far as I see from anime anyway, is kind of more the fancy, like old style of writing. So it's like kanji's basic, hiranga, I think it is pronounced, is like old style, and then katakana is like harsh. But that's not just written, it's also spoken, like just
Yeah.
apparently if you say certain words with a different inflection, it can mean something completely different,
Yeah.
which is weird. But then again, you look at the English language and it's not that weird.
Yeah.
Tear and tear are both spelled the same. They mean nothing. They don't mean the same thing.
Yeah. And
So-
just, it's like people actually have to be careful too with writing in Japanese. If they use katakanas or anything like that, it can like change, kind of like with tear and tear, but it can change the word almost entirely.
Yeah. Also, something you'll learn from watching lots of anime is probably how to count to 10. Naruto will teach you that. There was the dang Tell Beast song in Naruto.
Yep.
That probably helped you out. Ichi, ni, san, go. Oh, man. I know the first 5. Ichi, ni, san, go. Oh, no. After 5, there's like, I don't remember what 6 sounds like. But then I think I know 7 through 10. Ichi, ni, san, go. Oh man, I don't want to make a fool out of myself.
I'm like you. I had it, but now that I need to think about it, I can't remember 'em.
On the spot live shows, bro.
Yeah.
I thought I knew it, so I started singing it or sang it, and then I died halfway through. So no, I
Literally about halfway.
tried. Yeah, literally. Ichi ni san go. Hachi's 8.
Yeah.
Hachi's 8. Oh, this makes it a lot easier if you do the beginning of the and cube. So
QB,
Q is
yeah.
9.
QB, yeah.
So Q is 9. The the Ichibe is the one tails. Oh man, we're getting off topic.
Yes, we are. Like,
Uh,
all right, excuse all of us.
actually,
just
we're
crazy.
not off topic because
still-
we're
yeah.
talking about things you learn from anime.
Yeah,
It-
but we're focusing a little too much on just trying to do
just
that.
the language.
Yeah,
That is like the topic we know the least about, and here we are trying to turn it into a 20-minute segment.
yeah.
But alas. So let's talk about some of the cultural things you can glean from anime, and just like this is also something like you learn from like further delving into Japanese culture after learning it from anime in the first place. So kind of just the general demeanor of Japanese people seems to be a lot more polite.
Oh yeah, it's
And-
very polite. Like people just walk down the street and they'll
Kind of
say
quiet,
hi.
kind of quiet though too. I mean,
Yeah, it's just like subtle things. Sometimes people will just bow at random people and all that kind of stuff. It's just they're very open, but they're very, very polite with each other.
yeah. I mean, they're somewhat reserved too. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like there's a lot more societal expectation to act a certain way. I feel.
Yeah.
That. Not just from watching anime, just like because of anime, I went and looked up a lot of Japanese interviews. There's this guy on YouTube who goes and like interviews Japanese people about American culture, about like what do they think of President Trump, for example, and like a lot of Japanese people like they act kind of shy, but they're always like really polite and reserved. That's why. Did you hear the whole YouTube debacle about what's his name? He was a guy who went to Japan and then he went to the suicide forest and he like filmed a body. Like, did you hear about that? Yeah. He's what's his name?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. Yeah, he made a fool out of himself and kind of made Japanese people dislike tourists a bit more.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because like if you're a tourist in Japan, you need to do your research first.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing something you wouldn't find as impolite in the U.S., it can be taken in a different context and a different
Yes.
culture, especially one as reserved as Japan. But yeah, like Logan Paul, he went and he films himself doing silly shit, and he went to a Japanese. You ever heard of the suicide forest in Japan? Yeah, so this will kind of go into another topic I wanted to bring up. So I'll go into that after this. But the suicide forest is a it's a Japanese forest, obviously, known for its high suicide rate. Like people hang themselves there all the time. Like they find bodies on a daily basis.
Jeez.
Yeah, and throw themselves over cliffs, and it's just horrible. But he went there, and on his YouTube channel, legitimately filmed a hanging body, and like walked up to it, and was joking a little bit. And he's like, "Oh, we found a body," and he like censored the face, but it blew up in his face bad. Like he had to make an apology video. It was great.
Well, I think that probably is more in Japan too. But even if you do that in the U.S., that you're still going to get a lot of repercussion for that.
Yeah, and I mean, great that he had to make an apology video. Not great about the video itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just be polite, man, because like Japanese people have a pretty high value system when it comes to
they are all like they really adhere to even completely really old ancient traditions, like the Hachi statue, the dog.
The dog.
Yeah, like everybody in Japan will know that dog, and if you I think that like, you're not even allowed to put like a soda can on the statue. It's considered like disrespecting like all of Japan.
Yeah,
it's like they take
culturally sensitive.
Yeah, they take they're very culturally sensitive to a lot of stuff. So you really have to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, speaking of the whole suicide thing, I was also going to bring up how in Japan I talked about this in one of our previous videos actually, but work people in Japan have I cannot talk. Jeesh. There's a declining birth rate in Japan, as I'm sure you know. Like anime brings it up all the time. Like, oh man, don't want to add to that declining birth rate.
Right.
And it's actually not just because of things like anime, because a lot of people are like, well, it's because they have all that anime. They don't want to actually make contact with real women, which that might be part of it, because there's a lot of otakus in Japan.
Yeah.
But the main reason is because the work ethic in Japan is extremely strenuous. Like,
right. Yes.
And like you're expected to go off like right from the time you get out of school and try to find the best job possible and really focus all your talents into one thing. Like in America, like I'm a bad example because I worked at Walmart for 6 years of my life. But people like to go job surfing and like look at different jobs and just kind of get a feel for their life before they go out and make a big final decision.
Right.
Well, in Japan, you're supposed to know what you're going to be doing when you get out of school.
Right. Like the kind of like the like what we have, just like a career counseling type things. Like, well, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you're real young.
You say that in America, and it's like, I want to be an astronaut. But in Japan, it's like, what do you want to be? No, really, you better tell us. Because that's what you're gonna be.
Usually, like it's right before you graduate, or sometimes it's right before you graduate, or it's even like in the middle of like your freshman or your sophomore year. You're expected to fill that out, have 2 or 3 choices to fall back on if something goes wrong, but typically your first choice.
And a lot of time you want to keep it in the family too, business wise.
Yeah, but they usually want that. They're usually expected to do that, follow through, and that's what you're supposed to be from when you're young.
Yeah. So basically, all people just focus all their efforts into cooperative genocide. Copacetic genocide. I don't know that word. Copacetic. What is that picture? What is that picture? Is that a rainbow? What is that?
They look like tentacles.
We'll get to that. Don't you worry. We'll get to that. You want to hear about tentacles? We'll talk about it soon. But I'm not even kidding. But let's stay serious for a second. So yeah, the reason the birth rate is declining is because tentacles. But no. That's what he's trying to get. That's what he's trying to get at, because
Jeez.
But yeah. So the job expectancy is just you're supposed to focus on that primarily. People overwork at their jobs, and you might get shocked a lot, but people actually die from overwork in Japan. It's not even a joke.
And actually, some things that I've seen from animes, and then even seen from looking it up in actuality. A lot of schools in Japan, you're not allowed to have a job while you're still in school.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, it's enough to get you expelled.
Huh. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, like you're not allowed to have a part-time job.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like everybody in Japan is like, I know that America like says about stuff like giving allowances and stuff. In Japan, that's very, very highly almost mandatory, because the kids are not allowed to work. At least until they graduate, or if they do, they do it on a sly, or if it's a family
Under
job.
the table.
Yeah, well, not so much that, but like typically, like it's a family business. Like if you have to, you do. But typically, even if it's after school stuff, they still don't want you.
Probably because they try to like put a big focus on talking about like spending time with your family while you're in school.
Right? Yeah.
But does the devil have a part-time job? Does it, Andrew?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
The devil does have a part-time job.
He works at McDonald's. He's minimum wage and he is happy.
I want to watch The Devil's a Part-Timer. Andrew keeps asking me about it.
It is great.
Or asking me to watch it, not asking me about it.
It is great.
I watch it. He is a part-timer. And on the female side of things in Japan, when it comes to the birth rate, like women are kind of it's a different kind of feminist movement. It's not, oh man, I don't want to say anything too bad here, upset people. It's not like the American feminist movement right now where they're just kind of cherry picking. But that's what I was gonna say. He must be a hairstylist in your case. Is he saying he's probably saying your hair is nice. Probably saying my hair is horrible. Yeah, I need a hairstylist. I need to get Andrew's hairstylist.
I don't have a hairstylist. This is all natural.
But the women in Japan are kind of moving up more, so they're kind of getting higher up jobs. So they're ignoring the guys below them. The guys are too busy to pay attention to the women. They call the guys herbivores in Japan. If you didn't know, the guys who just who pretty much given up having sex. Period. They just call you a herbivore. They're like, oh, yep, he's a herbivore. He's just not going to do anything the rest of his life when it comes to women because he's too focused on his job and everything.
Or in most cases, which can go for either gender, otakus.
Yeah, and then like the hikikomori. That face. Do we know this person, or I wonder if it's a random person?
I don't know. It might be a random person.
I don't know.
Well, there's two different people because there's two different people.
Coburg genocide.
And then Rogue Plymouth.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Gee, pay attention.
I'm sorry, Rogue Polymath. I can speak. I can read.
Are you sure?
I think so. But yeah, and then like we said before, there's a lot of people who are just too obsessed with like anime and games to even care. So, and that's why anime gets a bad rap in Japan. Like, because if you didn't know, even though Japan's the biggest hub of anime, and it's the most popular there by far, like the sales are astronomical. Anime isn't looked at in a like super positive light in Japan. Like,
yeah,
it's popular, but like only like in Akihabara, like the anime otaku haven, like where everything's anime and you can just.
It's like almost like a small
street.
Yeah,
that is a con.
Yeah, it's basically it'd be like an entire New York City street, but it's all filled with anime, manga, and figure shops and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds amazing if you ask me.
It really does. I'm planning a trip there at some point.
We gotta go there.
Yes, we do.
Yep, because we're otaku. But in America, when you say you're an otaku,
nobody really knows
like,
what that is.
Well, no, I mean, to the anime community, they're like, hell yeah, I want to be an otaku. But in Japan, it's like, no, you really don't, because you get shit for that.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Why would you want that?
Yeah, and then the hikikomori are the people who are like the gamers who have no lives, who stay at home all day, don't want to get a job. They get like basically in 95% of your isekai stories, you're gonna have the protagonist being some at-home gamer who doesn't do anything his entire life and gets transported to another world. Yep. Which is why usually they don't appeal to me too much. But ReZero started that way too. But I love me some ReZero.
It just depends on some of the shows. Some of those shows are good.
Yeah.
Devil's a Part-Timer is kind of a it's still the same thing, but it's kind of a reverse. He goes from an alternate world and comes to the human world, which is still going to a different dimension world thing, but kind of reversed.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Mr. Coburg Genocide's tentacles. Promised we would, and we were planning on it anyway. So when it comes, another interesting thing culturally when it comes to Japan that you'll learn. Here we go.
Tentacles.
Is that is that Japan is more open when it comes. Oh God. He's described most of the Magic Squirrel guys. I hope so.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I mean, I know quite a few of them personally, and most of them are complete nerds. So.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool to be a nerd, though.
It is.
Nowadays, the nerds are taking over the world.
Yep, we are.
Yeah. The further along technology goes, the further the nerds usurp the jocks. And then they have to learn to be nerds, too. So it's just going to be a giant evolution circle.
It's almost like
going to confuse everyone.
It's kind of like a parasitic thing. Like at first, nerds were like nothing. It festered and started to take over.
Yeah. So
and now the nerds will inherit the earth.
I'm telling you, like they thought like Revenge of the Nerds was a joke, but it was like it was a future telling movie.
All right, back to the tentacles.
Back to the tentacles.
Back to tentacles.
obviously wanted to hear. But yeah, when it comes to Japan's culture, they're really hesitant when it comes to violence, but they're open when it comes to sex, essentially.
Very much, and that's really weird.
Yeah, as America, it's like on a TV movie that's rated TV-14 or even TVMA, you get
Underwear.
heads.
That's about it.
Well, I mean, you get heads flying. You get
Oh yeah, we're
arms
talking about the violence.
decapitations,
Yeah, okay.
guts strewn about casually, and then it's like
Even
you
on
tell-
just
you tell-
regular TV.
and then your kids
Yeah.
watch it, and you say, "It's okay, Johnny. It's not real."
Yeah.
But then like a boob falls out, and people lose.
It's like, "Oh my God,
people
no!"
lose their mind. Boobs. Sex isn't real. Sex isn't real. So I'm like, I don't understand the concept. It's like, you do know that murder happens in real life, right? Like, yeah, the murder's not real, Johnny. It's okay, you can watch it, but people do get murdered in real life. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Apparently not in America. Like, apparently murder is just something that happens in movies in America because that's all we care about is sex, because sex isn't real. I mean, according to parents. But in Japan, it's the opposite. They're more open when it comes to that kind of stuff. They, as Andrew was saying earlier before the video started, there's entire game shows oriented around sex games. It's bizarre.
It really is.
But and then when it comes to the violence, like anime gets censored pretty heavily, unless
Until,
it's like a really
yeah.
late night time slot. They'll air. I mean, if like someone gets their arm cut off, there'll be like a huge black streak in the middle of the screen, and you won't be able to see it.
Or it'll show like they go to get the arm cut.
This stuff is fascinating.
You are welcome.
I'm glad.
It's like, yeah, they show like somebody will get like their arm about to get chopped off, and then it'll fade away to just you see the hand on the ground, not so much the whole arm, but then it'll just be like puddle of blood. Or even another one, that Danganronpa.
Mhm.
They censored it really, really well, or I guess for them, they didn't even show the blood as actual blood. They showed it just pink.
Yeah.
Like trying not even to emphasize that it's actually blood.
Oh yeah. Not to mention, this isn't really violence related, but like I'm sorry, but in Gintama, like when you don't want to censor like shit, you put mosaics over it as a joke, but if you want to actually show crap, you have to make it like pink or blue or purple, and like change the color of it to get it shown on TV without censorship. Okay, back to the tentacles. We haven't brought up tentacles yet.
Yeah, we can't.
Okay,
Wow.
When it comes to like sex in like when it comes to the uncensored stuff like hentai or Japanese just AV videos,
typically
porn,
for some reason Japan thinks that it's okay to have girls getting attacked and raped by tentacles over a guy.
Yeah, well, okay. Back in the day, you weren't allowed to show penetration at all.
Mm-hmm.
So then they invented tentacles as a way to kind of work around that. They're like, yeah, we're this is educational.
It is. It's a
we're
bit
being
of an
serious
odd
here.
topic to be on, but this actually is.
This goes back into it. So basically, in order to avoid showing that, they replaced guys with tentacles, but then eventually they had to But they were like, okay, we're gonna have to like drop this eventually and just start showing actual intercourse. But then it got censored like with pixels, you know.
Yeah, pixelating mosaics.
Mosaics went straight to mosaics, and it's been mosaics ever since.
Yeah,
you cannot get uncensored porn in Japan. Period.
Yeah,
it's just mosaics, but they're super open about porn. Like it'll be everywhere. Like there's sex all over the place.
But
they're all censored.
Yeah,
and
it'll all
they're
be
way
like
more sex crazy than America.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in advertisements, but you can't show genitals.
Yeah,
so it's bizarre. Like they're
if
so
it's
open about
censored,
sex.
then it's okay.
Yeah,
censored, it's fine.
Yeah, you just don't show the genitals and you're fine. And it's really bizarre
is
how that works out.
And then even in some of the stuff, they try to, maybe it's just now because they're trying to do it now. They're censoring less and less, but still.
And then you say, but Magic Squirrel Network, but Anime Monkai. I've seen uncensored hentai. Well, that's only. Wicked City is for the old folks.
Yeah.
Andrew probably hasn't seen it, but there's some creepy demon girl monster stuff going on there. I was thinking Urotsuki Doji. That's like the first tentacle show. It's weird. But anyway, that was like the old school. The plot actually kind of looked interesting. There was like a fight scene I saw in that. I was like, there's Nazis. But what was I just saying a second ago? The Wicked City thing threw me off.
Crap.
Where was I at?
Damn.
I was on a
We were
roll,
still on
too.
the hentai thing.
Oh, you're probably saying
seeing-
Animonkai,
yeah,
you've
seeing it
seen
uncensored,
uncensored.
yeah.
That's only when the DVDs get brought over to America, and America decensors it.
And usually dub it. And the
And
dubbing
usually
is...
dubs it, and hentai
it's-
dubs are hilarious.
Yeah, because they're absolutely terrible.
Do yourself a favor, everyone who's watching this, and go type Bible Black dub and watch the hentai dub of that, because it's comedy gold.
And even at that, the uncensored hentais usually aren't that good anyway.
Yeah, they're usually pretty well, that's the thing. Like, it's poorly drawn because they don't have to show it, because in Japan you can't show it, so they just draw nonsense under the censor because they know it's never going to be
Right.
shown the light of day.
And then some of the newer stuff, it's just like there's just like a single line set across just one single
Oh no,
spot.
he's talking about doujins. Like in
Well,
manga,
yeah.
in manga, the censorship's hilarious.
Yeah,
because
it's
it's like you can't show that, so let's put one small black line covering a clitoris.
Yeah, pulled up Google.
Pulls up Google. I told you this topic was gonna get weird. He brought up the tentacles. It had to go there. We were playing on it anyway because Japanese culture is a culture of porn. It's only part of it.
Well,
I'm
they
just
have a lot of
joking.
that in anime too. There's always the big thing, the fan service.
Cover Japanese culture education. Japanese cultural education is porn entry. Have you not seen the mermaid or the dream of a fisherman's whatever? The oh my god, the old school first tentacle picture of all time, like the fisherman's wife or whatever. It's this old like wood plank painting. It was the very first. It was like old drawings, like old.
Wow.
Yeah, way back in like the 17th century or 18th century or something. It was back in the day.
Jeez.
But let's get back onto non-porn. So that lasted a while, but it was interesting. I like talking about it. That's fun. We went this whole time, Animonkai, without talking about porn.
They have porn and vending machines.
Yeah. Oh fuck!
Yeah.
We were gonna
Yeah.
mention the. You brought that up in the car ride. You take it away, Andrew. I've been talking this whole time.
Well, no, whatever.
Nope,
Whatever.
Go for it. Say
They
what he's
do
talking
have
about.
some really weird stuff on that. Like, we even were all talking earlier on before we all set up. They'll have all that kind of stuff. They'll even have, like, panties and shit in vending machines. It's just like,
Used.
used. It's like, okay, I need a pair of panties.
There's
I'm
not
like,
just
oh,
panties,
put
because
a-
that would be kind of normal. You could just buy your underwear from a vending machine. No, it's used.
Some of it. There's some that are brand new.
Japan's weird.
They are weird, and they just have them just set
We
up like
love
on
them for it,
Yeah,
but
we
they're-
love Japan for it because.
We wouldn't be making this podcast if we didn't, but...
But yeah, they have just that weird kind of stuff. They'll have mascots of like squids running around for the like chasing girls.
Yeah.
It's just like, what in the hell? Oh, here's something dressed to you, Mark.
No, Japanese culture of porn. It's only a small portion of it, but it is more prominent in Japan than it is in America. If you say porn or show a nipple in America, parents specifically, but people lose their mind. In
Yeah.
Japan, it's like, hey, you know where babies come from? Sex.
Yeah,
We
they have
should-
no problem
and
just
love.
explaining it. Yeah,
But zombies getting blasted in the head by Nazis and
No,
like, horrible,
no,
horrible
no.
people getting their guts ripped out. You know, the norm that happens on an everyday basis.
yeah.
Because wonder if they sell a photo with the underwear too. You never know, man.
Some actually do. Like there actually is like I don't even know how I found this. I was looking up something. And
Of course.
No, I honestly was not even looking up anything bad. Like I don't even remember what the hell I was looking up, but something like that came up, and it had the vending machine, and it just came up.
So the
quote on
second
the-
Animal t-shirt.
Oh, jeez.
I hope so. I
You
hope
would
so.
wear it.
I would. Yeah, I'd wear it to the show if someone made it. So someone who's watching this, if you make t-shirts, send one.
Yeah.
We'll give you the address if you really want to.
We'll do that, and we will pay for them.
Yeah, exactly. All right. All right. So I think that's enough of the porn for now.
Yeah,
For now. For now. We might go back to it because everyone's gonna want to talk about it now.
Yeah.
But
But then also we brought up the whole waifu things. Like,
oh god, you're still going.
the
I was
waifus, the
done. I
fan
was done.
service. Well, I'm not even talking about all that. I'm just saying like
Oh yeah.
they go for all that, and in Japan it's not that uncommon. I mean, for crying out loud, like
Yeah, that's
Mia,
just like a
it's just
normal-
like that's like the norm.
Yeah, when it comes to anime. But it's probably also why anime gets a bad rap in Japan, because it's even more perverse than their non-anime usually.
Yeah, which still has like incorporates some of the violence things too, because they have a lot of really good shows, and then Japan obviously is the home of kaiju, so they have all that. Even in those, a lot of the action is with it does have people fighting, but not so much like actual violence or like bloodshed or anything. And even the monsters don't so much get a whole lot of injury damage.
Because they're guys in suits.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
well, just like the whole violence thing, like I guess that they can get away with that because it's not a human thing. Like
yeah, that's a good point.
they've
yeah.
had things like in one thing where Godzilla blows off one of Ghidorah's heads. It actually shows the decapitation. Yeah.
But that's also a feature film, too. It's not on TV as much. I mean, it didn't start as on TV.
Yeah.
They
Oh, what's this? You were looking up lizards with nuclear breath. Yeah, pretty much.
Smiling tits.
Not that last part. Not that last part.
Smiling tits.
Not that last part.
Smiling tits.
Not that last part.
I don't
You
know.
said
I didn't. I was reading the thing as I was talking, and I can't do that very well. My mind does not do that. I cannot read as fast as my mouth talks. Everything up until the
Smiling
end
tits.
of the prehend of everything up until that, yes. The other part, no.
That reminds me of words.
Damn those words.
Words. The video game series. Persona. I can't words. There's a video game series with a girl who has like mouths on her boobs. So that's fun. That's smiling tits.
Okay.
All right, moving on from being perverted. Let's talk about some Japanese holidays. Totally different. That's the sex holiday.
Injury damage.
That needs to be the name of your barbershop quartet. So Japan loves festivals.
They really do.
They really do. School festivals, festivals of all kinds.
Summer festivals.
Summer
Just
festivals.
all
Like
kinds
literally
of
have
stuff.
festivals for everything.
Yeah.
If you believe what anime is telling you. This is all based, a lot of it is based just on what you learn from anime.
Yeah.
We're not saying all this is 100% accurate. Porn
segue
segue
to
to holidays. Hey, you know, both are words.
I don't know.
Calls for celebration. Calls for celebration.
There you
That's
go.
what I was gonna say. But some specifics of festivals in Japan, like everyone wears yukatas essentially, or kimonos. It's just like the general, I guess, dress code. I mean, there's probably no dress code.
Yeah,
but it
just
seems like
typically that's what it is. And a
Yeah.
lot of I know it doesn't, I don't know if it has much to do with tradition type things, but a lot of like the games and stuff that they have at
like-
festivals. Well, yeah, they have,
it's like when you like the farmer's fair. It's
yeah,
just,
the little court gun things. They have all these masks and everything.
oh yeah, they sell masks.
They
People
have
like
the what are the little balloon balls,
candy
and then
apples, lots of candy
the
apples.
candy apples, and then
But America loves candy apples during its festivals
and
too.
then the thing that I guess America does it too, but the whole fish scooping.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we still do that too, but they have a unique way of doing it. It's with that little paper strip ring. That's like somehow people can actually win that. I don't see how they can do that because as soon as it hits the water, the fish can just break right through.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
But and then weirdly enough, they're always carrying. You always see that. It's like I know it's probably just in the animes, but they're always carrying around the little balloon ball and then the little fish in a baggie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well then, like they also have like the fish candies or the fish snacks. They're like jelly filled.
Yeah, what
And there's
are
a name
those
for
things?
'em.
Yeah, what the hell is the
Yeah,
name?
they say
of
in
them?
anime all the time.
I know.
Oh man,
Katsuda? No, that's
Katsura.
No, I
No.
said Katsuda, but that's not it.
Katsuda,
No.
no.
Anybody that knows, help us out.
Basically, there's a little snack in Japan called anpan, which
Yeah.
is like bread with jelly inside. They're essentially just fish shaped anpan,
Yeah.
but I don't know exactly the title of them too much. They're very common in Japanese festivals.
really
though.
are.
Like in every anime you see with festivals, people be eating those.
And same with the those what the hell are they? Those drinks that had the little marble in them.
Oh yeah. Like our friends have bought some of those. Just like
Yeah.
ordered them from Japan just to let us try them.
Well, they have them.
They're at Jungle Jones.
Yeah, they're at Jungle Gyms. I was just about to say
And they
that.
have that bottle, that thing in there because they recycle the glasses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you know the title of those?
Why do you think I was just struggling with it? No, I can't remember the name of it.
We bring up this culture thing. We don't know the names of half the.
We know what they are. We just can't think of the name.
I've had a couple of them.
Yeah, they're good.
I've had them too.
Really weird flavors.
Yeah, really odd flavors. I had one that I just did not care for, but I bought it, so I drank it.
I mean, a lot of the Japanese like snacks and stuff have migrated popularly to America, like Pocky.
Yeah, Pocky.
It's like sticks of
Yep.
chocolate sticks.
And then another thing that's with there
I
is
get those
they are
religiously.
really
What did you say?
I get those religiously.
they're really fond of sake.
Oh yeah, sake, Japanese alcohol, but it's like
It's rice.
rice alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not good.
But apparently it hits really strong.
Yeah, it's like to get drunk, so in a really efficient and fancy way.
Yep.
But yeah, well, I guess just talking more about just Japanese. I mean, we still probably got a couple more holiday
You guys
things to
want
talk
to take
about
a shot
first.
of sake? I have some upstairs.
Nah, we're good.
Do
We
you
are
really?
good.
Do you really? I should have a drink before I leave. Let me finish the Sprite first, though, because that's gonna be odd.
It's plum.
Oh boy.
Maybe one drink. I shouldn't be eating ice on the stream.
And the other one that's, I guess, kind of a thing that's interesting tradition-wise is weddings.
Go for it, because you probably know more than I do about it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of similar in a lot to just normal weddings, but instead of just like being like the church where it's like everybody's like in the front center and everything, both of the families, like the bride and the grooms, they'll be set on like opposite sides of the room with the clear aisle, kind of like a normal.
I mean, kind of. Like
yeah, but instead of just like facing forward, they all face
oh yeah,
toward the aisle.
and the gowns for like the guests in weddings is like a lot of black.
Yeah, almost like a black kimono type thing.
With like one like they will always have like the fluffy
Yep.
balls.
Yeah, the fluffy ball sash thing.
Yeah, the sash.
And then typically they'll be up at their. They'll all be sitting on like the typical Japanese sitting stance and everything.
Cross-legged or
Yeah.
no, not cross-legged. Knees down.
Yeah.
Position. I can't remember.
Yeah.
The
there's a-
seppuku
Yeah.
position.
but then like a lot of them, they'll do that. They, from what I've seen in a lot of shows and stuff, I don't so much see like a ring transpiring. I mean, I know they probably do, but
I
it
think there's
doesn't.
rings.
I'm sure they do, but it doesn't
Look at Darling in
show
the
it.
Franks.
Yeah, but again, it's anime type thing, and that didn't.
That's
really
what I'm
have-
saying. These might be inaccurate because of
Yeah.
because we've been exposed to a lot of this through anime where
But I've
things
s-
are exaggerated
yeah.
and changed around.
And I've seen a lot like where they'll have like a few of them. They'll have just like a seashell that'll be filled with sake, and they each take a drink of the sake to commemorate the wedding.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Oh yeah. That reminds me. You haven't watched Your Name yet.
no.
But like there was a shrine maiden girl, the main girl. And
That's another thing. They have they're really big into shrines.
yeah, like, as a part of the Japanese culture, that like I guess it's not really holiday related, but it's tradition related.
Yeah, tradition. They're very, very religious.
Worshiping
tradition-wise.
shrines and
Yep.
I mean, not everyone does it, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
mostly out in the country. When you think of Japan, you always think cities, but there's a lot of countryscape in Japan.
Oh yeah. And
Um,
apparently, like I know it's backtracking a lot of stuff, and you probably knew this, but may have forgotten because you didn't watch very much of it. Apparently, in Japan, snakes are revered almost as deities.
Really?
Yeah. That's why, like, in the one episode of Monster Musume, that one producer guy really was wanting to buy Mia's skin.
Oh.
Because they're very, very traditionally based. I can't remember exactly why, but snakes are very highly revered in Japan.
I don't know what that is.
Looks like a snake head.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, like the what I was saying with the shrine girls. There's this one sake you make literally by like the girl drinks this stuff, like swishes it around in her mouth, spits it back in, and then lets it ferment for like a year. It's really gross, and then you drink it later. It's like whoa,
Okay.
That's bizarre. But yeah, go watch Your Name. Like they do that in there, and it's like.
Huh.
He hasn't seen Your Name. It's like one of the most popular anime movies that came out recently. And he's just like, I'm gonna rewatch Food Wars 3 times.
And yet you still haven't seen
Comic a Kill? Or wait,
No.
Comic a Kill?
no, you don't want to watch that one. Silent Voice. You ain't seen that one yet. And it's pretty much on the same caliber.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
so I've seen one that you haven't seen, and you've seen one I haven't seen, so we're even.
Still no Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, shut up! I'll get to it eventually.
Back on top. We never watch each other's shows when we let. Well, we do. It just takes us a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to like some of the holiday stuff. There's a holiday in Japan that I think takes place several times a year called Golden Week.
Yep.
And get him.
Get him.
Tell him if you've seen Silent Voice. Tell him, or not Silent Voice. If you've seen Your Name. Tell Andrew to watch it because it's so good. Like, why haven't you watched it?
Because, well, like I said, when I got it, I was getting ready to watch it, and then one of the shows that I'd been wanting to watch for months finally arrived, so I watched it, and then it had another one that was like for the second season of it. Got it, and I ended up just getting.
It was a bad.
It
cycle.
just got pushed back in my mind, and then I'm like, crap, where is it?
Oh, you lost it?
It's in my stack somewhere.
Anyway, Golden Week. I guess I don't know exactly what they're celebrating. I just know that as an anime fan in America, it inconveniences you.
There's Golden Week. There's White Week.
Well, yeah, but Golden Week specifically, Japan is really traditional during that week, and they don't put new episodes out. They don't put new chapters out.
Oh, yeah.
They literally take a break from all their media for like that week. So whenever you see Golden Weeks coming up in Japan, you're like, shit. That means you're not getting a new episode of your show. You're not getting a new chapter of your manga. And
nothing new.
I'm sure Golden Week's great. I'm sure it's a nice holiday.
I'm sure it is.
But it makes me sad. Every time you hear about Golden Week, it's like, no! I mean, you kind of feel okay. If you think about it from the artist's perspective of the manga, you can be like, you know what? This is a good holiday because they need a break.
Yeah, they do.
Manga artists in Japan draw like a weekly basis. They need to have a break.
They really do, yes.
Because geesh.
That's
going back to the workaholic thing, manga creators are treated like shit.
They have to get it just
deadlines
pumped out as fast as they can.
If it doesn't get out in time, it comes out looking like a draft, and then they have to correct it in the volume releases. And then they need assistance, and sometimes they don't have enough assistance, and so yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
If you're like a really good mangaka that has like a huge record, you can probably leave it to your assistants more. But if you're like a new person, you don't get that many assistants, you gotta work by yourself, you get pretty far behind.
Yeah.
So Golden Week's probably nice for that. We were also bringing up Christmas. We're not sure history and tradition versus missing your favorite shows. America. Hey, I acknowledge that it's probably a nice holiday. But since I don't know too much about it, it just is a sad day for me. I appreciate Golden Week because it helps the artists and the writers. But screw Golden Week. I'm kidding.
Oh, first world problems.
First world problems, let me tell you. Oh, I can hear myself talking. That's bizarre. Was that? Oh, it's from you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Losing my mind.
Yeah, you are.
We were debating on if Japan celebrates Christmas. Which I'm not sure if they do, but it's very popular in Japan, even if it's not celebrated.
It is maybe not as much as America celebrates it, but they still have the whole thing. Like a lot of they will still get like a tree if they can, decorate all that kind of stuff. They'll still do the presents and family and everything, but that's usually when they usually go to a shrine.
Mm-hmm.
Typically,
KFC.
They do have KFC.
But then, like, literally, you can't get a table at KFC on that day.
What?
Yeah.
On Christmas? Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've literally heard. Oh my god, I can't believe I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that it's from anime. Like they've talked about it.
Is that KBC then?
Maybe. Wait, I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like, they always change the name, like.
No, they straight up call it KFC.
Do they?
Yeah, there's Gintama, where they've made fun of literally Colonel Sanders. They've had Colonel Sanders in the show, just making fun of him. So, KFC's a big deal in Japan.
Yeah.
Japan loves some Kentucky fried chicken, apparently. But it's good chicken.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't had KFC in a while. I think KFC's name's hilarious because we actually live near Kentucky.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, we're in Indiana. We live right next to Kentucky. So we're always like, yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Of course there's one because we're right next to Kentucky. What we probably fail to realize as much is that KFC is like a worldwide chain. Like KFC is in Japan, and it's like, I thought it was just around here because we live next to Kentucky. But no, it's a legit huge chain. That's fun.
Yeah.
Japanese tradition.
Yep. And then the big one for them is New Year. Really is New Year.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, as far as like all that, like Christmas, they do celebrate like going to shrines and everything. New Year's, they do that very well. I think that they actually like from some of the shows I've seen, they actually will give them like work. Will actually give people like entire weeks off, or at least depending on when the year starts up. But I think there's like they'll give like a couple of days before the new year, and then they don't usually go back till the 3rd. So they get a good amount of time off. They usually celebrate a lot of chicken. They have a lot of that stuff, and they really celebrate the New Year's.
Yeah.
Like kind of like a Chinese thing, but they really respect the new cycle of the new year and accept it with the animal that accompanies it.
Oh, like Zodiac.
Yeah, the zodiac. Yeah,
Yeah, the sheep.
the sheep,
ram.
the rat, the dragon, the
Yeah.
tiger, whatever year it happens to fall on.
I just remembered something else specific about a holiday. It's a holiday everywhere, but in Japan does something particular. With Valentine's Day,
Oh yeah.
Japan's all. Oh, back to New Year's. They always send cards too.
Yep,
Like,
New Year's
New
cards,
Year's
New Year's
cards
money.
are super big in Japan. Like,
Yep.
like getting a New Year's card's a way bigger deal. Like, you know you're loved in Japan when you get a New Year's card.
Yeah.
But with Valentine's Day, well, something they do that other places don't do as much is the girls are expected to give the guy they like chocolate.
Yeah.
That gets brought up all the time in anime.
Yep.
So like finding chocolate and giving it to the boy you like is like the biggest deal.
Finding isn't necessarily a thing. Most of the time, the girls make it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They usually make it and give it to the guys they like.
Mhm.
And it's always the typical, at least just going off of anime, always the whole shy, reclusive thing.
Which in Japan, I guess the shy reclusive thing is just kind of the. I mean, it's just how girls act more. Like it's kind of like people in America, kind of like are attracted to more headstrong women, but I think in Japan, like people are more attracted to the shy type. Is from
Probably,
what
yeah.
from what it seems like from the things I've seen, anime and not. Like I was saying before, like when it came to those interviews in Japan, by that YouTube channel, like the girls always acted shy in the interviews, but they might have
Yeah.
actually been shy because they were being interviewed about something they might not have known.
Yeah.
But the way it comes across, it seems like shy is like the default
Yeah.
position when it comes to being in love. I guess when going back to like the food a little bit, just like some other big foods that you see around in anime, like rice balls. They
Yeah.
get censored into donuts. Huh?
Really?
Well,
So-
like we talked about it way back in one of our first podcasts, but like Pokemon censored rice balls and turned them into donuts. in the
Sometimes
US.
they did. No, actually they didn't.
They did a couple times.
I don't remember that. Like, especially like in one of the early ones, like when Ash got Primeape, Brock made rice balls, and they were actually rice balls.
I know
They-
for a
they
fact
even-
they changed some to donuts.
He even threw one at Primeape, as in like he made fun of it too. He was gonna act like he was gonna catch. He's like, rice ball, go.
I think it'd be hard to eat a rice ball with chopsticks.
You don't.
You just eat it.
Yeah.
Chopsticks in general look hard to use.
Yeah, they really do.
You never used chopsticks?
I've used them.
They're
It's just not
difficult.
often. And
Yeah.
they
I
look.
can eat
They,
with the chopstick just as well as.
Can you?
fork.
well, whoopee doo for you.
I'm just saying. Seems like it would take more effort to me. I mean, with a spoon, you just scoop, you stab with
Yep.
a fork. But with chopsticks, you have to be all.
Yeah, rice balls. They're just you just eat them with your hand,
Yeah.
just like a cheeseburger.
But
Or a
it's sticky
donut.
rice, so you can use chopsticks.
Yeah, you can. You can.
See.
You can, but typically that's not how you eat a rice
You
ball.
probably eat them all at the same time. The whole thing.
Yeah, well, not the whole thing, but they'll just take bites of the stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, probably.
another big one up there that started in Japan is just kind of a fast food thing, and suddenly became
McDonald's is really big in Japan.
I wasn't even talking about McDonald's.
I'm just saying.
I was just talking about ramen.
Oh, ramen! The ultimate Japanese.
Yeah,
It's just
started off as just those little carts that would be just easy fast food thing. Then they become giant restaurants and everything, and even U.S. has finally adapted a lot of ramen.
Yeah. We don't have the fancy ramen like Japan does with all the cool veggies and stuff, though.
Yeah, well, you can just add those.
We do, but not
Yeah.
as common.
Yeah,
Normally, you just get boxed ramen. It only comes with the noodles.
yeah.
We got our much more knowledgeable cohort here, who obviously has the good ramen on a regular basis. We probably get it from a restaurant, though, right? Not from store shelves.
Jungle Gyms.
Jungle gyms. See, specific restaurants or specific stores. In normal stores, you're just gonna get boxed ramen
Yeah.
with the boring crap.
Well, actually, I just went to Jungle Gyms a few on Father's Day, and I got a like $60-$80 worth of Japanese food.
Nice. I need to go to Jungle Gyms more from what these people are talking like.
It really is good. It's a good place. I can't believe you haven't been.
I mean, I've been there a couple times.
Oh, well, you need to go there again.
Let's talk about a
I go
different.
there at least twice a week.
What?
Well,
you must
geez.
live really close to one. then,
Fancy
huh?
you.
Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well,
Well, we don't
okay.
live that close to a Jungle Gym.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
It's the only place you can.
We drive here an hour away, bro.
It's the only place you can walk around and drink beer and shop at the same time.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Japanese culture talk. Let's talk about Japanese school systems.
School systems?
Because they're quite different from the U.S. school systems.
Yep.
Uniforms are the most obvious. difference.
Uniforms,
like, I think there's, like, I guess colleges in the U.S. Probably prefer you to come with, like, a fancy get-up to an extent. Like, at least, like, with a buttoned-up shirt, maybe.
Yeah, but typically schools
in
just
Japan
let you do
are,
whatever.
like, straight up.
Well, I just mean, like, difference. Like, in Japan, it's usually the girls and the guys have the same exact uniform, with the exception of the girls is a skirt. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're really big
Oh,
on...
we got a big one here.
There should have been a disclaimer rolling across the screen of this episode every 30 seconds. The statements and opinions expressed on this episode of any manga reflect the impressions of Japanese culture and anime, manga, and the internet, and are not shared by Magic Scroll Network, their partners, fellow podcasters, and affiliates. Any similarities to persons, places, and situations is purely coincidental. I agree.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
We
told you from the get-go that this is limited information from anime that may not be accurate, and we're going to be discussing the validity of these assumptions based on the anime. We're telling you what we see from anime and being like, is it really like that? But we know for a fact that, like, when it comes to the uniforms and Japanese school system, that's legit. They might shorten the skirts in anime for fan service purposes, but the uniforms themselves are legit.
And then typically, just like at home schools, you're not actually allowed to wear shoes. You have to wear those specific shoes for school. They're almost like slippers.
Like when you go bowling, but cooler.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's up.
Yeah. But yeah, like at home, you're not really supposed to wear shoes at all. That's why there's you walk in, there's like a...
You always take your shoes off at the door in Japan.
Yeah.
You never walk inside the store.
Inside you actually can walk inside the door, but then there's like a, I don't know, like a 4 or 5 foot thing of like concrete or something there. You put your shoes on that, and then you step up into the actual house.
Japan's my place because I hate wearing my shoes in my house.
I do too.
I never wear my shoes in my house.
I don't like wearing shoes in the house either.
And Japan has like a thing about it, so...
Yeah.
I hate when people wear shoes in my damn house.
Kind of like I was just saying, same with schools. Schools, they don't really want you doing that too. They have specific shoes for you to wear.
Yeah. Japan's also really big on like school activity clubs and stuff. Like Like
typically
when I went to
to
school,
be in a club.
Yeah, when I went to school, there was no real big clubs, just a couple here and there.
I don't even remember there being any clubs.
Yeah, but in Japan, it's like clubs all over the place. Like, what's a few examples you've seen from anime? You watch more school life shows than I do. There's the science club.
Cooking clubs, manga clubs.
Yeah, manga clubs. Assassination Classroom will teach you some of these.
Yeah, they actually still have a lot of clubs that most schools would have. They got baseball, soccer, all those
specific sports clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have.
But it seems like you have to be in a club in Japan. Like
pretty much, yeah. It's like you have to be in some kind of club.
Yeah, and if you're the class president in Japan, they're all based on anime.
Yeah.
Then you got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Like you pretty
much run the school with
you run your class. Like the teacher doesn't do as much. Like you have to make sure the students are working properly, and you have to give all the big announcements and stuff. And
well, from a lot of, like I've seen actually in a lot of animes, but even in actuality, it almost seems like that that the class president a lot of times doesn't just run that specific class. They actually, like, some of them run the school, like really? All the classes. And they're like, there's like
they
the principal.
Call them school presidents.
Some do, but typically they just call it the class president and the class rep.
Really?
But it's like,
I thought usually it would be specific classes because they're called the class. Maybe this is just an anime thing.
Well, some Japanese school systems I've seen, they have that. But a lot of it is in anime with it does represent that. Some it's just class oriented.
Maybe it's just people trying to be overachievers and get really high marks. Once watched a tennis anime, lol. Was it Prince of Tennis? It was probably Prince of Tennis. Prince of Tennis was the biggest tennis anime that I knew of. The guy always spun his hat around and posed, and there was like, it's kind of like Kuroko's Basket, where like the tennis shots were really exaggerated, like they had superpowers almost.
Think so.
Yeah, I think Prince of Tennis used to be on Toonami, believe it or not.
Yep.
Which wasn't very. I don't know if we didn't really air too many sports anime on Toonami. I think Prince of Tennis was one of the only ones. I don't know how well it did. Like I said, if you're into sports anime, I hear Kuroko's Basket's good. It's like basketball, but they seem like they have powers almost.
And another one that in
like
relation to
called
that,
Emperor's Eye is like this guy who can literally tell the future of what you're gonna do with the basketball.
And just they do that with some shows that you wouldn't think would be good, like like the basketball one, but then also they have ones with, like, example, Food Wars.
Yeah, just an entire anime about cooking. And I was asking Andrew earlier, like, hey, Andrew, when we start bringing up Japanese cuisine, you're really going to know what you're talking about because you're watching Food Wars, right? And he's like, well, it's not always Japanese food.
No,
like,
very,
shit.
very rarely is it actually Japanese food.
But that tells you right there that Japanese,
yeah, they're
oh my god, the word for people who cook.
chefs.
Yeah, that one.
Wow, okay.
Japanese chefs specialize in multicultural
Yeah.
multicultural cuisine. But they go to competitions in Food Wars, though, so it's a bigger deal. That's more where they get naked and taste food. Well, it's not like when they taste when they taste food.
That's what just like the impact of they
It's
don't
called
actually
it's like a food gasm.
Yeah.
Like they eat the food and they're like delicious and their clothes explode.
Although
they don't really explode, it's just like a representation mentally of how good it is.
Although there is
What'd you say?
Mary watches it.
Does she?
I
hear it's good, honestly.
There
He
is
says it's
one
great.
character that when he does eat something good, he does strip. Like in actuality, he's the director of the school. Like you know that it's good in there if he bares his chest. Like he'll just be sitting there and it'll fall down to about his waist, and he's this big ripped old man. He looks like a mafia dude. But he's sitting there, and every time they see it, it's like, oh yeah, he really likes it. He bared his chest.
There's this. I haven't watched it, but you know the show Prison School.
Yep.
Apparently, the principal of Prison School is like.
No, it's not porn. It is not porn.
What? The artist of the manga draws porn.
You're not helping,
His
Mark.
name's Tosh. If you want to look up Dojins. But
no, Food Wars is not representative of that. It's just like the impacts of the food.
it is apparently like. I guess the further it goes along, the less it relies on the fan service and more on the plot. But I have not watched it. But
Actually,
I have heard nothing but good things, which blows my mind because I couldn't.
It actually
imagine
keeps up on both accounts
how interesting.
fully through.
Really?
Yeah, like
I heard the fan service slows down a little bit.
No,
Really?
it never slowed down from the start, but it just.
I guess it gets more male focused then because people are all like, "Oh, it's all only girls,"
It
and then
just
later on it's
depends-
like dudes.
It just depends on who they have tasting it at the time.
I guess so. Back to Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Where did we?
Culture?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah. Another thing with the school is that like the stress to pass is huge in Japan. Like
Yeah.
Like I guess because like the same thing we talked about earlier with like your position in life being kind of decided at the end of the school. Like you gotta really get high marks. But in Japan, the teachers are really akin to like parental figures. If you didn't know, like,
very much
in
so,
Japan,
yeah.
like your teachers are way more involved with your school life. Like teachers make regular home visits to the students to help them out with their homework and stuff at school. Like the teacher's like your legit mentor figure. Like
Right.
personally, they're expected to go like help their students out like with anything in their life, not just teaching. Like
Right,
teachers are like really highly regarded and have way more responsibilities in Japan than they do in the U.S.
Right. That's why it's like whenever they do
That's not just anime. That's legit.
That's in general.
That's
Like,
legit.
They'll do like what they do in animes and even in the actual thing. Like if a teacher shows up to the house, it's almost just like free range. They're like, oh, welcome, please sit down, have some food. Like they're regarded so highly.
If you're watching My Hero Academia right now, we just hit the episode where the teachers made their home visit. So
Right.
oh, My Hero Academia there. The most popular anime airing right now. What we're talking about should resonate if you're watching it.
Yep.
But yeah, so I think All Might just made his home visit to Deku's mom and had a nice conversation. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I keep looking at the last thing in the chat, just back to porn. Shit. I honestly think in this entire cultural discussion we've had, the longest section was the porn. We sat there and talked about it for like 25 minutes straight. Hi, Mom. But thankfully, Mom's not watching this one. She'll probably watch it later, though. That'll be fun. Your parents can watch it, but they're used to you buying things, so they won't be too surprised.
Eh.
Like, oh, this is like what Andrew buys on a regular basis.
They don't know like I said, they don't all know what I buy.
It's in a gray normal box.
Yep.
Or a brown normal
Yep.
cardboard box. Yeah. Anyway. Let's move on to the history that you can learn from anime and whatnot, which quite a bit. If you watch any amount of like action anime, especially ones based on like feudal Japan with like samurai and everything like that. Yeah. You'll learn everything you need to know about like how like the different major generals, like the main most popular general in all of Japan to ever live. Even Andrew will know this. Starts with an N.
Nobunaga.
Nobunaga. And anime will not let you not know that.
Yep.
there's so many anime based on Nobunaga. He was an insane general. Like he was super successful. He like decimated the enemy forces, but he was like literally insane. He killed his own men when they.
Actually, the thing I know it's from a different version of the thing, but it still takes true the actual events. They just switch things around. He actually killed his own brother too.
Yeah, and then also he had
because his brother was going to start a coup against him.
I think that's legit. And like his regular tactics consist of like burning down villages and like burning down castles with all the like the servants and everyone in them.
He also did the what was it?
Everything was talks about Nobunaga's ambition. Like his ambition was so great that he didn't care what he did to achieve it.
There was the one night castle.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember what it actually was called, but he was trying to fight this army that was held up at Osaka Castle and across the river to do all this stuff. He built an entire fortress castle in a night.
Yeah, like Nobunaga was insane, and like that's like one of the biggest things you learn. But there's the other two are Ieyasu and Hideyoshi. You might have heard of them too if you've watched ones with a lot of history.
Have,
but they were other big generals.
Yeah.
Back in the Sengoku period of Japan.
Edo and all that kind of stuff too. Yep.
Yeah, which I know all about because Gintama, but and other anime like look,
you need to
just
see
just
Oedo
going
Rocket.
yeah Oedo Rocket just going through like there's freaking Nobunaga, which is literally just Nobunaga, but he had a gun. Which by the way,
actually
accurate.
That's a girl.
Yeah, well, yeah, they made Nobunaga into a girl in that one.
And then same with the ambition of Oda Nobunaga. Same thing, but just all the characters are just reverse gendered.
Yeah, but if you didn't know, also something you'll learn from anime is when you think of samurai, you think swords more than anything, right?
Yep.
Samurai loved guns.
They actually did, yeah.
So this isn't inaccurate. Like Nobunaga was obsessed with guns. He made sure his entire army had rifles. And they shot people more than they stabbed people.
Yeah.
So fun fact, a little bit of a misconception when it comes to samurai.
A lot of samurai did use swords.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, especially before they got shipped over from the West and everything.
Yeah.
But once guns were in Japan, guns were used in Japan.
Oh yeah. It's like it wasn't just typically like
I mean, they rode their horses and they wore their samurai armor, but they used guns.
Yep.
So
they were the old time musket style guns too, for the most part.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. Yeah, but like, and then, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows like the general samurai getup, just like the multi-plate, like usually red, the cool helmets with like usually have like a moon symbol or something
like that. Usually almost like a face looking thing across the mask plate too. The big shackled armor. Basically, without the mask, picture Madara from Naruto.
Yeah.
That's almost a typical samurai outfit.
Yeah, straight up. Is that a mask?
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
It's a samurai mask.
Yeah, and then also when it comes to like that whole entire thing, the honor aspect of like war in Japan, like if you lost, your entire unit was expected to commit seppuku. Like if your general dies,
yeah,
like or if your side's losing and the general's still alive, he would almost always like try to kill himself and like disembowel with hirakiri or.
Yeah, those real short
seppuku.
Yeah, those short
really
samurai
short
swords.
Basically, seppuku, if you don't know, is when you get down on your knees, you
take the sword
stab yourself in the stomach, and then you pull it
Yeah.
sideways to commit suicide. It's the honorable way to do it, in accordance with Japanese philosophy, I guess, or honor. But
they're really big on honor too,
Oh, yeah.
regardless of even if it's war or anything. They are huge on honor.
And also speaking of the Japanese history with war, it's probably mostly due to World War II and what happened with the nukes and whatnot. But nowadays, Japan is really averse to war. Like
They're not actually allowed to have offensive weaponry. Japan is defensive.
Yeah, and like from anime, from Godzilla, I mean, you'll learn that like thematically.
Yeah,
like their media focuses on a really heavily anti-war message. Like
they have a
Japan,
lot of weaponry to use.
Oh yeah, they do.
But it's more internal. Like they have a lot of weaponry to fight internal affairs, but like outside the country, they really can't do
Well,
so
they're a
much.
Melon Nation too, so they don't
Right,
really
but
need to.
Yeah.
But they probably got to watch out for the Korean situation because they're around there. But
yeah.
but yeah, like for example, like Godzilla
Yeah.
was made just as a representation of
Yep.
the horrors of war.
The original
and
one
there's-
was the side effects of World War II.
Yeah, and the amount of like anime based on World War II and like the the horrors of like the bombs are everywhere. Like Grave of the Fireflies was an entire movie just about these two little orphans after World War II and like everyone dying from the radiation and being left alone. It was sad. It was sad as hell, man.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of anti-war messages nowadays in anime. Mostly, like I said, probably as a result of World War II. But
And I don't know if this so much ties in for a lot of stuff, but from a lot of certain animes I've seen, Japan really likes to like almost stab you in the heart with a lot of their shows. They really
The
like
feels.
they really like to hit you with the feels and hard.
yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't know what they do with that, but a lot of people that do that, even just non-anime stuff, they still try to hit you really hard with the feels with a lot of their shows.
I think it's just the writing style in Japan versus the West. I mean,
It
they
seems
prioritize
really
more like
popular, yeah.
human emotions,
yeah, like
more
they,
so like a lot
that
of
just hits
interpersonal.
really hard though.
Yeah, and also not to mention the Japanese are exceedingly talented when it comes to making music. Like,
Yes.
there's so many good Japanese composers, and they can just compose songs that kill you deep inside without even a scene to go with it. So then you add
Yeah.
a somewhat sad scene with this ridiculously sad music, and you instantly die.
And then, not to speaking of that, Japan also has, if I'm not mistaken, the only artificial pop star.
Oh God! Oh yeah! Pfft.
Hatsune
That
Miku.
is pretty. That's a hard cut.
Yeah.
So the horrors of war. Also Hatsune Miku.
That's what I well, you were just talking about music, so that ties
you're
in.
right. Yeah, talk about Hatsune Miku.
You probably know a lot more about it than I do.
I do.
You probably do.
How do I know more than her? I do not.
Really? I thought you did.
You're a Hatsune Miku like fanboy. You should know more than I
Not
do.
really. I've heard some of her music. I have a couple.
She's a blue-haired idol girl who's
Yeah.
not real.
She's a
who has
complete
concerts.
hologram, yeah.
She's a hologram who has concerts. Has a lot of adoring fans.
which I've actually
Legit
seen,
concerts.
Yeah, which they weirdly enough on Crunchyroll they actually have one of her live concerts.
He's looking at us like, no. You think,
You
I'm,
think
kidding?
I'm kidding?
You think we're kidding? We're not.
Yeah.
Go look up the concerts. It looks kind of funny.
but
But-
they're just odd because
Like a
the way-
giant virtual screen with a giant virtual character singing with virtual.
No, the concert I've seen, she's human size and has actual band members playing the instruments and everything around her.
That's even
Does she
crazier.
write her own songs?
Oh, that's the question.
Well,
Now, do they let her write her own songs? She
it-
sings them because they put the music
Oh yeah.
in a
it's
computer
interesting
and-
though because the way I seen is like they had stuff set up like boxes and things around. She would actually like stand on top of the things and everything.
Really?
I mean, I know it was probably just set up for the thing, but it still is really, really convincing.
Interesting band in Japan, Baby Metal. You ever heard of Baby Metal? Anyone here heard of Baby Metal?
Not so much.
There's these like 5 girls and oh god, the idol culture. Holy shit, we didn't even
Oh,
talk about
yeah,
idols.
the idols.
Didn't even talk about idols. God. So Japan loves idols.
Yeah.
Basically girls who dress cute and sing, but they are really, really, really put on a pedestal to the extent where if an idol is found in any kind of scandal, if an idol has a boyfriend, they just get disowned by Japan. Essentially, it sucks. No, seriously,
They can't grow up.
no, they can't.
No, they
can't.
want them to stay
They want to stay pure. So if-
pure
if,
lollies.
No,
Well,
no,
not-
I don't know about
yeah, you know,
lollies.
y-
They're
well,
adults. They're
some-
adults.
Some can be lollies.
They can be, but generally they're adults. But
Yeah.
but they want them to stay like pure of heart. So like if anything comes out about them being in a relationship with a band member or anything like that, they immediately get like stripped of their idol status. But but they're super popular. Like
Have you heard of this one? Hi Hi Puffy Yumi? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, didn't they sing the Teen Titans?
Yep. They did
Teen
the
Titans
team.
theme.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's just an interesting little fact. Like everybody who's seen the original Teen Titans, not the Go, which needs to just die, but the
does,
original Teen Titans theme song was done by a Japanese band.
Yeah.
And there's even a couple covers of it where they actually sing it in Japanese.
nice. But yeah, Baby Metal, like these girls who dress in like gothic Lolita outfits, and but they're hardcore death metal.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
they're
have heard of them.
really popular. Like their CDs in America sold out on store shelves. Like they had to they freaked out like because they didn't know how well it would sell, and they couldn't get them on store shelves for like a long time because of how well it sold. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
That actually would bring a little bit of a culture thing to come into the U.S. too.
yeah,
Like anime, I think probably when it first came over here, it was not popular at all.
yeah, that has expanded more just because of the television and the internet.
But you would think that wouldn't have expanded so much, especially for people like our age. Like you'd think that it'd be mostly kids that would have started off watching it.
Well, okay. This is where the difference between me and Andrew stands out. It did hit off with kids
Yeah,
our
I
age
know.
when I was a kid, and then I grew up watching it. And you, as a kid, watched Pokemon, and then got into Godzilla for 10 years, and then and then learned what anime was
But
when you were
technically,
20.
though, I was still into it. Pokemon is technically anime.
True. But most people did kind of like do the gradual grow up and just like watch Toonami, watch Adult Swim. That kind of followed the me thing generally, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Like you had kind of an odd re-entrance into anime.
Yeah, I really did. I really did. It was weird.
Yeah, but it's as long as you got into it, man. As long
Yeah.
as you got into it. We're running decently long. So final thing I wanted to really touch on was like some of the mythological things you can learn from anime, like the gods and the demons and all that good old fun stuff.
We actually have an example of one with us.
We do.
Yeah.
Is it this?
No, it's not that. Japan has one of the mythological creatures that they believe in is Onis.
Oh yeah, Onis.
And technically in the show, 02 is technically considered an Oni.
Yeah, the red Oni, blue Oni story.
Yep.
If you don't know it, it's very popular. The red Oni is the more violent and brash one. The blue Oni is more nice and wants to get
Peaceful,
along
yeah.
with humans. They don't get along because the blue one chooses the humans over its brother, and the brother freaks out. It's a story that gets repeated ad nauseum in Japan. There's a lot of like actual old time stories that get brought up in anime too, like the Peach Boy one. Like
Oh,
the little
yeah.
boy.
Peach flows down a river.
Yeah, the peach floats down the river. These two, like a man and a woman, find it, cut it open, and there's a baby inside. Yeah,
it's seriously.
It's the Peach Boy story, and then the boy grows up. They're like the parents are getting hungry. He goes to this island full of demons. Kills
along
them.
the way.
He meets a
pheasant.
ferret.
It's a pheasant. A
Pheasant.
a monkey, and a dog.
Yeah, when they become his companions, they hate each other at first, but they all become friends. They go to this island, which is Onigashima.
Yep.
And then they
Slay
kill all the
king of the
demons,
demons,
the king
yeah.
of the demons, take all of his golden treasure, bring it back, and live happily ever after.
Yeah.
It's a story that gets repeated ad nauseum in anime and outside of it, but it's an old Japanese tale. And a lot of old Japanese tale get retailored for anime.
Yeah. Just like what we said with the Onis, ReZero.
Yeah, ReZero, we were talking about that earlier too, but yeah, like there's these maid sisters that you had me at ad nauseum. Are you happy? Are you happy that I'm using ad nauseum? I want to know that. I think you are. I think you're proud of me.
And another one we got is the Yukiona.
Oh yeah, the Yukiona, not Yukioni. But yeah, like the Ice Maiden. Yeah, it's just a creature that gets used a lot. But what's the mythology around here? Like, how is she created? Do you know too much about that?
I don't think it actually says that she was created. I think it's like
Just born that way.
Well, I actually haven't.
There's always
seen,
a weird mythology to all the creatures.
There's honestly the Yukiona is one of the few creatures that is very loosely explained.
I thought she was just like an ice spirit.
That's
that
one.
took human form.
There's like 3 or 4 different legends about it. I can't remember all of them, but that's one of them.
But you gotta offer ice to them repeatedly.
In
some versions.
That's one. The other version is that it's a spirit that was looking for love and compassion, met a guy and all that, but ended up like something or whatever, and it ends up dying. Most of the Yukiona stories, they're all sad tragics.
What about the mirror? Like the person who lives in the mirror. Have you seen that story? Like that gets thrown around a lot. Anyway. It's like a different dimension inside of a mirror.
That's a Japanese one? I mean, I've seen it done in Japanese and stuff too, but I thought that was mostly a U.S. thing.
Nope. Well, I mean, there's probably different ones.
Oh, okay.
But, like, the one I'm thinking of is... I don't want to try to go into it. It's been a while since I've seen the anime.
What about the Grudge Girl or whatever, though?
Actually, I think The Grudge was just straight up... Well, Japan loves horror, but that's not really about culture.
That was an old culture thing.
It's... The evil spirit portion is true.
I mean, they love ghosts. For example, the toilet ghost in Japan. Yeah, did you know there's a toilet ghost? Yeah.
for you?
I would hope so. It's literally arms that come out of a toilet and
Grab you down.
and grab you and pull you into the toilet. Yeah, that's a legit thing in Japan. It's like this spirit that takes over bathrooms and steals all your toilet paper.
Sounds like an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. Just quick. I know we're talking about mythology right now, but quick segue because we didn't mention it. Japan's got a really weird sense of humor.
They really do.
Like really adolescent sense of humor. Like poop and farts, hilarious.
Yep.
There's this thing that gets brought up a lot in anime called seventh grader syndrome, which is a thing that exists everywhere, not just Japan, but Japan calls attention to it, where people who have seventh grader syndrome they're really awkward around girls, or
Well, there's that, and then there's also Chinibyo.
I think that literally translates to like seventh grader syndrome.
I think it's either 7th or 8th grade syndrome, but it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to grow up.
Yeah,
they
you just stay
same...
stuck in the seventh grader mindset their entire life.
Yeah.
but yeah, and then like, and then bizarre sense of humor. Like my God, Japan gets weird when it comes to their jokes. And a lot of straight man and funny man, like, you know, people saying joke and then someone overreacting to it really loudly.
They really are big into that, and also the fact of hurting people.
Oh, physical comedy all over the place.
Yeah, just like somebody will say some stupid joke, and out of nowhere you get the famous anime bitch slap,
which is great until it gets overdone, and then the female character becomes nothing but a comedy device, and it sucks.
Well, it's not even always the female that does it. It's like a lot of times I've seen a lot of it where it's like a guy talking to his friend, and he does that too. He's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He's like,
once again, that's just like a physical version of the straight man, funny man routine.
But like, they really like that they have a dark sense of humor, a weird sense, and they really like hurting their actual characters.
Yeah,
it's like
physical comedy.
Yeah, physical comedy. I mean, it works.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah.
Was there a few other mythologicals we were going to cover?
No, there's the Kappa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're these weird frog,
turtle shell frog things.
Yeah, turtle shell green guys who hang out in rivers.
They have
a plate on their head, and their only weakness is the plate's full of water, and if they tip their head too much and the water comes out of the plate, they die.
Actually, it's not even so much the whole tipping thing. Like they're
basically and they suck your soul out of your anus.
Yeah.
Did you know that? they suck your soul out of your anus.
But
I know the weird mythology, man.
These
are like traditional Japanese demons. Like these aren't even like weird anime shit. Like this is traditional.
Yeah, these are
Japanese demons. Yeah, like literally. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding. We're talking about the old school shit, and the Kappa is as old school as you get when it comes to Japanese demons and stuff.
And another one that seems really popular is the oh crap, we just covered it. They're real big on believing in nine tails.
Oh, not really Nekomima. That's just girls with cat ears.
Yeah.
That's just fetish fuel. But there's a bunch of anime that are power fantasies, people dying, waking up in another world where they are superpowered. If you found yourself in a yaoi anime, what would your overpowered abilities be? Okay, well if I'm in a yaoi anime, I think my overpowered ability would be to be really ripped, always shirtless, and my bishi eyes would be extra resolute. They would be very sharp. And because in yaoi, I would have big yaoi hands. Like, I think if I was in a yaoi power fantasy, I'd have to have hands that were twice the size of my head. Because if you watch yaoi, you would know that yaoi characters have huge fucking hands.
And you know this how?
Because I've been an anime fan for over 15 years of my life. So, and then our guy who's the cameraman here is sitting there going, why are they making such a big deal out of this? What the hell does yaoi even mean? It's gay.
Yeah.
It's boy on boy.
Yaoi is boy on boy, Yuri is girl on girl.
Yeah. So, yeah. If we were in a power trip yaoi fantasy, yeah, I'd have the power of having giant hands, really sharp bishi eyes, abs, and I don't want to get any further because I'd make this really non-safe for work. Even though we had a porn section earlier, I would have the power to have no censorship, even though I'm in Japan.
Oh, why? What the hell? Oh, what the hell, man?
Yep. I'm a straight male. I'm just telling you. Like, if I was in a power trip yaoi fantasy, I'd have to have yaoi powers. What would your yaoi powers be, Andrew?
I'm not even answering this.
You're not even answering it?
No.
I think it'd have to do with your hair. You know, speaking of Japanese demons and hair, there's a lot of ones that, like, manipulate their hair.
Yeah, I can't remember what those things are called.
Yeah. They have, like, a red brush. It's really important. Like, it's like this little red hand brush, and that involves their weakness. There's these stone golem dragons that are Japanese demons, and their weakness is human sweat.
There's also what's the
They
other
get the
one?
weirdest weaknesses and weirdest creation methods of all time. I
There's
swear.
those one demons or whatever that have like a giant mouth in the back of their head.
I only asked because you two have such great sexual chemistry. What are you talking about? My power. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
like
No.
what are
Hey,
those?
Andrew.
Yeah. Great, now you made this weird.
Made this weird. Never look at Andrew the same way again. Jeez.
Oh jeez.
My goodness. I'm glad you ship us.
That's the other thing that Japan does a lot. They
A lot
ship.
of shipping.
A lot of
A
shipping.
lot of Yuri shipping. A lot of
Yep.
yaoi shipping. A
Speaking
lot
of-
of
speaking of
hetero
like-
shipping.
Speaking of a lot of that stuff, that's another thing that we can bring up about Japan. They are very open to sexuality.
we already brought that up.
No, we were just talking about the different things. Like I'm talking about like the Yuri and the Yaoi type stuff.
Oh, yeah,
they're,
yeah.
They're very open about that. It's like they're normally like over in America here.
Well, nowadays America has to be open about it, or you get lynched. But
Even now, they still.
you know it's true. What are you making
Oh, it
faces
is.
for?
But it's just sometimes over
Not,
here.
not that I. Well, to be
Yeah.
honest, I am perfectly okay with it over here. But I'm
Oh, I
just
have
saying,
no
if
issue
you
with it
are,
either, yeah.
you get really dirty looks nowadays.
Yeah, over in Japan and stuff, it's not so much as big a deal.
If you, oh my god,
Oh,
why?
jeez, why?
Why? If you were in a yaoi version of Megalobox, would you be able to tongue punch each other's? I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't
no.
think so.
No.
You would need robot tongues because Megalobox has robot arms, and I don't feel comfortable putting robot parts on my tongue. So no.
Wow, okay.
We're getting weird, man.
We are getting weird.
Thanks, Strike Manta, for all these enlightening questions that we have to
Jeez.
read out loud on the air.
Yeah.
all
And
the
make you
normal
feel
people
even more uncomfortable
to-
because we're talking about yaoi
To-
shit.
to- ask us a Yuri question.
Yeah, Yuri questions is easy.
But back to, we're getting this during the demon section of like
Yeah, I
the
know.
Japanese
How did-
gods
how
and
did
demons.
this come
How does
up?
not come up during the porn section?
Yeah,
That's
seriously.
what I
It's
want
like,
to know.
wow.
Rewind the video if you want to hear us talk about porn. Let's bring up like some of the actual like gods and deities. Like we've only been talking about the demons and stuff, but like Amaterasu, is
Yeah.
like the god of the sun, gets brought up in everything. Basically, these three demons or these three gods were really represented in Naruto, like Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi, and Susanoo, which is really fun to say because Susanoo, it's literally Susanoo apostrophe O, so Susanoo is the pronunciation. But like Amaterasu is the god of the sun, goddess of the sun.
Yep.
In the video game Okami, she takes the form of a wolf.
Which is kind of cool now because in Naruto, Amaterasu is just eternal burning black flames.
Yeah, and then Tsukiyomi. Tsuki means moon. I honestly don't know if there's any part of Amaterasu that means sun, because I believe sun in Japanese is something like Hino something. Hinoa. And there it goes. Ki wrist. I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
I don't know what that means.
Elaborate on us.
Key wrist, indeed. If I don't, I'm wondering. Key wrist. Is that something we should know?
I kind of feel like it is.
Key wrist.
I don't know.
We
now.
should know this.
We should.
Explain. Is this from
Yeah.
an anime?
Ex-
It's probably from an
explain.
anime. We know a lot of anime. The fact that if you're making an anime reference and we don't get it, we really need to.
It's
get on
either
that.
one that we've seen and we just can't remember, or it's one that we haven't quite seen yet.
I mean, they're talking about Yuri. I was saying to say something about Yuri. Someone else brought this up. I wanted to watch that Revolutionary Girl Utena. It's like the old school Yuri of all time. I bought it from the con. Maybe
did you?
Maybe it's from that. Maybe Key
Huh.
Wrist is from Utena. I need to watch that show. It legit looks good. Yeah. And I'm not too sure, like mythologically speaking, like what Susanoo is the god of, but
I'm not sure.
he's a powerful motherfucker. If Naruto's anything to go by.
Yeah.
This has been a fun, weird podcast.
This actually
This
has
has been the
been.
weirdest podcast we've ever had.
And
But
we're even more random than we always are.
Well, we will bring up literally every facet of Japanese culture that we can think of from anime, then it's bound to get weird because anime gets weird.
It does
But
get weird.
now we got yaoi questions and
Yeah.
talking about toilet ghosts and porn. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Is there any more like gods or creatures you want to talk about that you can think of that we haven't brought up yet? Because, like I said, we're on the mythology section after this. I'm pretty much out of material for unless you can think of something else.
Trying to think. I don't know. I feel like there were a
There's
few.
so many.
Yeah,
I'm
there.
surprised we're Tengus, bird people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like they always have lances.
Yeah.
Oh, like tridents usually actually. I think the Ritos from Legend of Zelda are based on them, but I watched a lot of like Inuyasha, Ushio, and Tora. You don't think you've seen either one of them?
No.
but-
Well, I've seen some of Inuyasha. That show just... I think we already went over that. That show never really grabbed my attention very well.
Well, Inuyasha himself is a Inugami. He's a dog guy. And
Yeah.
then
Well, there's another one.
cat demon. Yeah, Inugami. But they're worshipped in Japan. Like you said, like the Hachi statue, like
Right.
is based on Inugami, which is like a dog demon.
Yeah.
Dog demon, dog god thing, I guess. But like, isn't there like an entire holiday based around the Hachi too? Like, isn't there like a certain day that you're supposed to worship it more so than others? Now that I think about it, I know we're
I
kind
think
of
there
backtracking.
is. I think it's like the
The day of the dog. I don't know.
maybe, but I think it's more along the lines of when they think that it actually died.
Yeah, maybe. I think the Japanese in general are more dog people than cat people.
Yeah, I think they kind of are. Like some people
You really
actually,
get a lot of dog stories in anime and stuff, but you never really see much about cats. Even though, I mean, you do like cat girls.
Yeah,
But only if you're talking about like
Nekomatas.
weird fetish fuel. But if you're talking about actually like the animals themselves, dogs seem a lot more prominent in Japanese media.
Yeah, they actually do. Although it does. Well, actually, no. In a lot of the media stuff I've seen, it's mostly cat,
Really?
mostly cat girl and dog.
Well, yeah, that. But
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. When it comes
Oh,
to
like
the animals
actual
themselves,
cats. Oh, yeah.
When actual cats, you don't really see too many. Like I know there's like the little cat from Ordinary Life, the weird robot girl. Nichijou has like a weird little cat, doesn't it?
Yeah, the cat's got a scarf that allows it to talk and acts as these two little girls' father.
Of course.
She's a genius, and her older sister is a robot that she built.
Yeah.
With a giant screw in her back.
Yeah.
Like she makes it look like a wind-up doll.
Well, now we're kind of just like searching for topics. We've
Yeah.
pretty much exhausted most of our
I think we
Most of
kind of
our-
have, yeah.
most of our material that we had ready here. So, just as a closing note, as we said earlier, most of these impressions are based on what we've seen in anime and like Japanese TV shows and interviews.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of it's more nuanced and complex than we're giving it credit for, and I'm sure there's a lot more facets that we haven't explored because obviously our knowledge is limited from just the shows and stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be fun to just examine like the general culture in general. I said general twice. From just what you can learn from anime, because you know it's an educational tool, man.
Yeah.
It's entertainment, but it's entertainment with a purpose.
Yep.
It's cool because like when you go watch Marvel movies or read American comics, you already know everything because you live there. But
Yeah.
it's cool to experience something visual from like a different culture so you can learn.
Yep.
Yeah. So I hope you learned something cool or about porn or about any of the other things we talked about my yaoi hands. So.
Oh, God.
Enjoy the weirdness of today's podcast. Bye, everyone. Keep it squirrely. Later. Ugh.